Sarah Mingkara merupakan seorang advokat, praktisi, juga fasilitator kegiatan dalam isu-isu yang berkaitan dengan disabilitas. Ia ditunjuk langsung oleh Joe Biden sebagai penasihat khusus hak-hak disabilitas internasional di bawah Departemen Luar Negeri Pemerintah Amerika Serikat pada Oktober 2021. Dengan memegang jabatan tersebut, ia mengambil peran dalam memimpin strategi komprehensif Departemen Luar Negeri Amerika Serikat untuk mempromosikan dan melindungi hak-hak disabilitas internasional. Jabatan tersebut ia dapatkan bukan tanpa alasan. Ia telah diakui atas kontribusinya yang besar melalui beberapa penghargaan yang ia peroleh. Salah satu kontribusi besarnya ialah dengan mendirikan sebuah organisasi nirlaba yang diberi nama Empowerment Through Integration (ETI) yang didirikan pada saat ia masih duduk di bangku kuliah. Organisasi ini berkomitmen untuk menciptakan lingkungan masyarakat yang lebih inklusif dengan mengubah stigma sosial dan budaya terkait disabilitas secara global, serta melakukan pemberdayaan bagi penyandang disabilitas, khususnya yang kurang mendapatkan pelayanan di negara-negara berkembang. Peran besarnya dalam isu disabilitas merupakan dampak dari pengalaman pribadi yang ia alami. Ia kehilangan penglihatannya ketika berusia 7 tahun. Sebagai perempuan tunanetra yang terlahir dari orang tua Libanon dan Amerika, ia menyaksikan secara langsung bagaimana masyarakat meminggirkan bahkan meremehkan atau justru memberdayakan dan mengintegrasikan penyandang disabilitas. Di Amerika Serikat, ia memperoleh akses untuk mendapatkan pelatihan khusus bagi tunanetra. Dari situlah ia mengembangkan pengetahuan dan keterampilan yang diperlukan untuk menumbuhkan rasa percaya diri serta independensi untuk menjalani kehidupan yang produktif. Pelatihan ini pula yang menjadi bekalnya untuk melanjutkan studi di Wellesley College dan Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Lingkungan tersebut sangat kontras dengan yang ia rasakan ketika mengunjungi keluarganya di Libanon. Hal tersebut membuat ia menyadari dampak jangka panjang dari lingkungan sekitar penyandang disabilitas. Selama menjabat sebagai penasihat khusus hak-hak disabilitas internasional Amerika Serikat, Sarah Mingkara telah menyuarakan hak-hak penyandang disabilitas dan urgensi menciptakan lingkungan yang inklusif di setidaknya 25 negara termasuk Indonesia. Lantas, bagaimana kita memahami hak-hak disabilitas? Bergabunglah bersama kami di Unhas Insight, eksklusif bersama Sarah Mingkara. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Senang sekali saya Ifwaisyah Rahman dapat menjumpai Anda dalam program spesial Unhas TV, Unhas Insight. Kali ini kita akan membahas topik yang sedang menjadi perbincangan publik, yakni isu disabilitas. Saat ini saya sedang bersama dengan penasehat khusus hak-hak disabilitas internasional pemerintah Amerika Serikat, Sarah Mingkara. Assalamualaikum Sarah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Now, how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. Now we will talk about disability issue. So the first question is, in supporting inclusion, what is the concrete step can communities or organizations take to make sure that people with disabilities always feel accepted and supported?
It's a really good question. I will first take a step back and I ask, what does inclusion mean? What does it mean to be included? To be included means, a person is seen, a person is heard, and a person is valued, right? And for me, the reason why I was able to achieve what I've achieved so far is because I've had two main variables. The first is I grew up in the US where I had laws, legislations, and policies that gave me the right to go to the public school system like anyone else, to go to have jobs, live in society, access my system, my society, right? Those laws are really important, but as important, I also had parents, family, a community that believed in me, that saw my disability as a strength rather than something to be fixed. My mom that pushed me to have ambitions and dreams and say, you're gonna contribute, you're gonna exist, you're gonna belong, and you're gonna bring value to this world. Those are two really important variables. So I always take it to that question, what can community do when it comes to inclusion and disability? I want us first to see people with disabilities as humans that can bring value. I want us to really demand the inclusion for persons with disabilities because we know that their contribution is important to society and system at large. That narratives needs to change, and that narratives can start within us, within our families, and within our communities at large.
Okay, so we know that everyone have a value, yes. So the next question is, when developing new technology or products, what factors should be considered to make sure that them is more inclusive for people with disabilities?
I think when designing any technology from the get-go, in the design of the technology, we bring the disability accessibility perspective in the design, in the testing, in the implementation, in the evaluation aspect. So always, this is where I would say looking at products that are inclusive and accessible from the get-go is because they brought the disability community to the table. They heard their voices and their perspective, and also understanding disability is diverse. It's not one type, right? And it's baked in, it's built in. And then that allows not only for persons with disabilities to access this technology, but everyone is able to access it. I'll give an example. My phone, right? I use an iPhone, for instance. It's baked within it, VoiceOver, which is a software, screen reader software that I can turn on, and I can use my phone, touch screen, whatever it reads it back. Whatever it touch, it reads it back to me, right? It's baked in. But who else uses VoiceOvers? It's not just the blind people. People that like to engage through hearing use VoiceOver. But again, it's baked in, but it's designed from the get-go, and it's not seen as an add-on.
Okay, so now let's talk in the workplace context. So, what is the specific measure can companies take to create an inclusive work environment for our employees, including those with disabilities?
So that's a really good question. And I always look at inclusion is not only the physical space, it's the communication, it's the technology, it's the culture. And how do we really understand the barriers that persons with disabilities face from point A in their journey in accessing the job? And how do we break down those barriers? How do we look at inclusion not from a point of compliance, but more from a point of let's break down barriers so persons with disabilities can contribute. I always tell employers and managers, when you have any employee, whether they have a disability or not, right? When you're hiring them, ask the question, what do you need to thrive in this working setting? That question, simple but very powerful, and that will allow the person to come and say, this is what I need. These are the barriers I need to break down. This is what I need to be able to thrive in this working setting. And that starts creating a dialogue of more accessibility and inclusivity.
What role does the media, including social media, play in shaping society's perception about people with disability?
I think media plays a huge role. If we think about how does media talk about disability in general, this is all over the world, right? And also the entertainment industry. The stories are either, oh, this sobbing story of, oh, poor person, they're suffering, they're struggling, I feel bad for them. Or the other narrative, which is, oh my God, they're so inspirational. We call it inspiration porn. They're so amazing, they're so brave, they're so courageous. Those two extreme narratives are very hurtful towards the inclusion of disability. We need to create a narrative where we expect people with disabilities to be going to school like anyone else, having jobs, having families. How media portrays disability is so important. We need to normalize the word disability and the identity of disability. We need to normalize the expectation of people with disabilities are out and about in our society. So media does and will play a huge role.
Okay, because we have the limit time, so can I use Arabic for the last question? Yes, for sure. Okay, السؤال الأخير، هل تشعرين سعيدة في مهنتك الآن؟
الحمد لله يعني الحمد لله كثير نعمة إنه عندي هالشغل وبشعر بالسعادة بهالوظيفة، يعني إنه قادرة أشتغل بالموضوع لدمج ذوي الإعاقة، لأنه أنا الحمد لله كان عندي النعمة من أهلي ومن مجتمعي إنه كنت أقدر أروح المدرسة واشتغل، وكيف فينا نعطي نفس الفرص للعالم حوالين الدنيا لما يكون لموضوع دمج ذوي الإعاقة.
شكرا وجزاك الله سارة. أنا مسرورة أستطيع أن أتكلم وأتحدث معك في هذه الفرصة، وأرجو نستطيع أن نلتقي في فرصة أخرى.
Insyaallah.
Baik pemirsa, itulah tadi pembahasan yang sangat menarik terkait dengan hak-hak disabilitas dan bagaimana kita mendukung lingkungan yang inklusif bagi saudara-saudara kita penyandang disabilitas. Demikianlah Unhas Insight edisi hari ini. Saya Fasya Rahman mewakili seluruh kru yang bertugas pamit undur diri dan sampai jumpa di Unhas Insight edisi berikutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.